Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping, and then I'm going to ask a moment of silence for our dear Senator Frank Lautenberg and express our condolences to his family, to his wife Bonnie, to his children. We'll do that after Wolf has a comment or two, and then I'll share with you some of the changes to the agenda.
I'm on. I excuse Debbie tonight, Deputy Clerk, because tomorrow morning is the primary election, and both Debbie and I have to be at the school at 5 a.m. Polls open at 6 a.m. So hopefully tonight we are in a mode to get us out so that I can get to bed and get up.
I got it.
So thank you. And then secondly, and perhaps most importantly, I prepared you to have the budget presentation tonight, which we will. But we also were prepared to adopt the budget. We had adequate publication of that, but the cap bank resolution or ordinance was not advertised until today, so I can't have that in front of you. And rather than jeopardize our ability to use it in the future, we're not going to vote on the budget tonight or the cap bank and save it until June 17th. I conferred with both our auditor, CFO, and we're in the same place. So, thank you.
All right. I just want to share with everybody, we're going to make some changes in the agenda tonight.
Oh, we can have the public hearing on the,
Yes.
Yes, sir. And the
Yes,
presentation.
And the presentation.
Yes.
Just no adoption. Under old business, the overlay zone ordinance introduction, that where it says here ordinance is being reviewed and finalized will be distributed Monday. That will not be occurring. So in order to maintain the progress that's made on that overlay, it is going to be moved to our planning board. Instead of coming to us first, it's going to go to the planning board and let them do what they need to do to take care of the ordinance. So their next meeting is this coming Monday, so we don't hold up that going to the planning board. So that has been removed. The council, on behalf of the people that have been making the presentation, has been made aware of it, and their people were made aware of it, and they opted to, I guess, not remain in council chambers, knowing that that will not be discussed. And we shared with them to go forth and come to as many meetings as you'd like here, but to really address that issue, because we won't be addressing it until it comes back to the planning board, is to attend as many planning board meetings as necessary. So that's off the agenda as well. So what we're going to do tonight is, after the moment of silence for Senator Lautenberg, what I want to do is we're going to open to the public first and let the public be heard. I got a complaint from 3 members of our public that attended the last meeting, that they felt it was inappropriate that this council shut down so abruptly at 11:15, and that they were here patiently and gave their time and consideration, and felt that they did not receive the same from this council. In particular, one member, and that's as far as I'll go. The only member wasn't the mayor. That's the one I'll tell you. The mayor was here till 12:30 in the parking lot with the parties that felt offended. So that's what happens when we forget that our residents or our clients need to be treated as such. So with that, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence on behalf of Senator Frank Lautenberg. I've also spoke to our borough administrator, Mr. Albrecht, and we're going to fly our flags at half-mast on the causeway and at all borough property. So that was my instruction, effective immediately.
I just would ask that if we're going to, I happen to agree that it was kind of tough last meeting. We were all kind of very, very tired. I apologize personally for anyone that took it as an insult. But I think that we need to do our time management better when it gets to 10:30, 10:40, that none of us want to go past 11. It's pretty obvious that we all have decided we want to stop at 11. So I think that we ought to, make it our practice that at 10:30 we reevaluate the agenda at that time, and the mayor has the possibility to do that, but not to tell you how to run your meeting. I just don't want to let that happen again and have to stay here till 11:30, 12:30 again. So I would ask that we do a little bit more time management at 10:30 and reassess where we are at the meeting. And if that's the case, then we should suspend the normal order of business and open up to the public at that point.
I agree with you, Jeff, thanks. Some of us, it's a long day, we're gonna work 7 in the morning. We'll come home 15 hours later, we're just tired.
And also, I would ask you also, Mayor, to reiterate what you said a little while ago about the county road overlay zone is not going to be discussed tonight, because I see that some residents are here possibly for that.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
you should maybe reiterate what you said before.
We just got sorry, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm going to share, anybody else have any comments before we get started with the agenda?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a Frank Wardenberg comment. I remember I submitted the League of Municipalities, and I went over to him 2 years ago, and I said, Senator Robert Roosevelt, Woodcliff Lake. And he thinks back, goes, Ingersoll Rand, right? And I guess he knows this for every town, because, the next guy went up to him, and he knew something was in that town. He really knew a little bit about every town that he represented, and he was a great man, and we're all going to miss him.
For those of you just coming in, just wanted to share that there's some changes to the agenda, and we're changing some of the order of the agenda to accommodate our residents, because several of our residents approached me at the end of last meeting and felt it was inappropriate that we abruptly ended at 11:15. I stayed till about 12:30 plus in the parking lot to address any issues, but they felt that members of this council did not give them the same courtesy that they would have asked for. So what we're going to do is we're going to open to the public. Once we get past the approval of minutes, we're then going to open to the public. The item that's on the agenda that says old business overlay zone introduction, that is not, there is no overlay zone ordinance that is before us as part of the council. And what I decided when it was not coming here to us today was to remand it directly to the planning board, because this way we do not slow down the progress that we've made to date. And I shared that with Councilor Lou D'Arminio, and he felt that that was an appropriate course rather than bringing it back here on the 17th, which would be the next time for it to be heard. And Mark sat for the past few years at a lot of he was our planning, the firm between Mr. Kaufman and Mr. Liebman, who are our planning board attorneys, felt that that would be a good move to do, because the next meeting there would be the 10th. Otherwise, it would be pushed possibly into July before they would first get to see the ordinance. So
maybe on the next planning board agenda, do you know what date that?
The next planning board meeting is scheduled for June 10th.
Oh, okay, that would be good.
So I have a call into the planning board chair, Fry, because all this occurred towards the end of the day. So I made these decisions, and I hope that the public appreciates the decision that was made, and I hope that the council appreciates the decision that was made to go to the planning board for their work on the ordinance.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
Council, thank you very much.
Mayor,
Okay,
even though this is being tabled.
it's not tabled.
Even though it's being referred, I'm sorry, wrong choice word. It's still open for discussion during the public agenda. If the
Absolutely.
public wants to speak about it, just to make sure they know.
So what we're gonna do tonight now is we're gonna make a motion to open to the public. I don't wanna have the if the public is here to hear the budget, then you're gonna have to wait. All right? So if there are any comments you really have on the budget, we'll open up after we do the budget, we'll do the budget presentation, okay? Yeah, okay, we'll do, all right, so what we're gonna do is, we're gonna do the approval of minutes, we're gonna do the presentation from the shade tree, because that's important, and a couple members are here for that. We'll do the engineering report after we open to the public, and then we'll do the budget presentation, and we'll move from there. Motion to open to the, okay, let's go.
Was there approval of minutes?
No, I want to go to open to the public, and then we'll do those.
Motion open to public.
Second, Councilwoman Bain. Open to the public.
I just have a question I can get out. Just on the scheduling, if the planning board, with regard to the overlay, makes a recommendation, then it could get on for June 17th, the next council meeting, on a first reading and then a second reading. Is that how it would work, Mr. Lee?
It's possible.
Okay.
It's possible.
We're just trying to get this scheduled.
You know, I mean, we've both been to the planning board plenty of times, so
Okay. All right.
they may take a long time to go through.
I will see how we do
But
it.
I'm thinking, even if they agree wholeheartedly with the way that it's drafted, it would still probably take more than a week to get a resolution endorsing it and getting it back over it here. So that's probably an overly aggressive.
Yeah, it's quite aggressive.
They would have to be twice.
No, they can review it and endorse it and send it back. And their lawyer doesn't have to do it the way that we always do it. We always do it with a formal resolution. This is what was considered, this is what was discussed, and this is the recommendation of the planning board. But the MLUL doesn't require that. They could just send a letter and say, you're right.
And actually, that's what they did last time. So
Oh,
we'll see what happens.
Okay, so we'll see what they do.
Thanks.
Open to the public. Any members of the public like to?
We need a motion, is that right?
Can we just do that?
No, the motion was, I presume everybody's in favor.
Yeah, I just wanted to get it.
Yeah, we're in favor.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Anybody else like to speak? Young man.
Joe LaPaglia. I'd just like to make a comment on the proposed development that is here, or was here, to talk about tonight. And, I'm speaking from 20 some odd years of experience on the planning board, 16 years as a member, after that, as chairman, and 8 years sitting on it as mayor. So, and I've looked at the property on County Road many times. I've looked at the property on Pickwick, many times. I think that, there've been proposals on the redevelopment of that property over the course of, the last 10 years, numerous times. I know that the residents on the street that's right past Pickwick, the name escapes me.
Stonewall.
Stonewall.
Stonewall and Centennial.
Stonewall. Well, more Stonewall than Centennial. So the Centennial was the affordable housing component, whereas it's escaping me again.
Stonewall.
Stonewall, was always a market development of standalone. I think that the development of that property with multifamily is probably a reasonable idea. But in reading the preliminary information on what's being proposed and will be proposed, and I intend to go down and express these views to the planning board also. The density that's being proposed is too high. It's too great for that particular piece of property, including the Pickwick. When when you look at your planner's presentation and the densities that were created in some of the other attached housing, I think that density really has to be reduced. And I'm particularly concerned with the impact of 55, I think it is, proposed units. Is that it, Lou, 55?
I think the maximum build out is out there.
Right. I'm particularly concerned about that on our school system, because as everyone knows in this town, that's where the bulk of the property taxes go. 75, 76% go to supporting the schools. Well, we don't really have any comparable development in Woodcliff Lake. The Hovmanian site at the up on Chestnut Ridge by the Woodmont intersection, we did that as age restricted, and that was purpose. There was purpose behind it. It wasn't just because we thought we'd be nice to older people like myself. We did it because we were concerned about the impact on the school system and the cost of that impact on the school system. Okay? We have a very attractive, desirable school system in this town. And to open up the potential of 55 units, that's going to attract a lot of school-age children, unless you can make it age restricted. Now, from what I understand, Romanian is sold out now on their units, and those units are all age restricted. But I would ask the developer to think about significantly reducing the number of units that he's asking for, or if there's some other compromise to make those units age restricted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll get to it. During open session, many of you know that the mayor just has to say thank you for your comment and not express an opinion or a comment. So I just want everybody to recognize that. At the last meeting, some people felt that some of my comments shut down discussion, and that's never what it is meant to do. All right? I want that to be known. The discussion that talked about time management and looking how we end our meetings possibly. Being mayor, you have an obligation, I believe, to the entire borough of Woodcliff Lake. And this morning at 9 o'clock, I was again honored to be part of our DARE program and speak with our police chief, our officers who run the DARE program, Foley and Brown, and Chief Janicelli, Bergen County's favorite prosecutor, John Molinelli, our resident, myself got to speak, as well as Principal John Fierro. I counted the number of students in the 5th grade. We're at 74. This year's incoming kindergarten class, I'm told, is going to be 64. So those who would say, Mayor, you don't want age restricted, no, that's not what the mayor is saying. But the mayor happens to be pretty intimate with this municipality. And we could use students in our classrooms. So I appreciate what you're saying, but I also want to, I'm just giving facts, 74 students graduated our DARE program today. When my kids were in it, it was 110 plus. So we're having difficulty fielding, somebody's shaking their head there, we're having difficulty fielding sports teams because our population is shrinking, and the Record had an article on the ages of children under the age of 5 from 2000 to 2010, and Woodcliff Lake was somewhere around the 40% mark less. And if you take that 110, take 44 off of that, that gets you to 76, which means today's number at 74 is pretty damn accurate to what that article wrote about. So I appreciate everybody's comments, and I think you'd like to, you don't have to bring the hat all the time.
He wanted you to know
I
who
just
he
want to make
was.
sure that recognized.
That's okay. You can keep that on.
Thank you, sir. Took the words out of my mouth, the lifeblood. Yes, sir.
I apologize, I've forgotten
Well,
your name for the record.
You got to give your name and city.
Frank, serial number 2, Joseph Valenzano.
Mr. Thank you.
Thank Joseph Valenzano, 6 Pickwick Lane, Woodcliff Lake, New Jersey.
You don't have to give the street address, just,
It's all right.
well, just,
Woodcliff Lake, that's it.
Thank you for this opportunity. As Mayor so well put it, I think children are our nation's most precious asset and the only real treasure we have as a nation. And children are the lifeblood of any society and any city or town. And the more we can attract young couples with children to our town, the better off our town is going to be. So that is one comment that I would like to make tonight. I respect the gentleman's comments about senior citizens. I'm a senior citizen, but I also was young once, and I can appreciate growing up with an environment that was conducive to athletics and all the good, wholesome town brings. But I am disturbed about coming here tonight and finding out that it was not going to be on the agenda to discuss tonight because the ordinance was not completed at this time, as I understand it. If that's an error, maybe you can just answer my question, but I'm just trying to understand what was the particular difficulty in completing the ordinance.
I'll tell you, it was a technical problem in my law office. Today, we lost access to our internet capability, our telephone system, our fax system, our Westlaw research system, and the computers were down while our tech guys tried to figure it out. Paul Kaplan was working on it and drafting it when we got hit with this. I was in court until about 3:30, so when I got back to the office, everybody was pretty glum. It didn't come back on until around 4:30. Paul knew he wasn't going to get it finished in time. He called the mayor, and that's what happened.
So it's close to being completed?
It is close to being completed. Mr. Darminio was trying to call us today, going to get through. That's what it was. But we're changing our phone system, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Well, so because that's not what we said 15 minutes ago. I thought we were just referring to the planning board for the.
That's what we're going to do.
So it's.
Well, it's got to come back here for.
I understand that, but, so the issue was that it was just, whatever the issue is, it's not coming here until after the planning board anyway.
Right.
So you're basically just cutting a review section so it goes straight to the planning board and then it comes back to you guys?
Right, because what would happen is we would talk about it tonight, the planning board would talk about it, we'll come back here, we'll talk about it some more. We're going to talk about it, just when I talk about it 2 or 3 times, we only need to do it once.
Okay,
That's all.
thank you for clarifying that.
we're open to the public on any issue that the public wants to speak.
I am correct, we're going to do that again at the end of the meeting, correct?
We're going to do it after the budget.
We're going to do it for the public hearing on the budget, right?
Yeah.
And then we're going to do it at the end of the meeting again.
I thought this was the end of the meetings. We have 3 open sessions?
No, it's 2.
This one.
This one
One
and
after
after,
the
and after the budget.
And you could ask something else after the budget, not pertaining to the budget. Is my understanding.
Yes, sir.
John Glazer.
That's what it should be.
So what was the purpose, or suppose there wasn't a power failure in the attorney's office, what would have transpired here tonight relative to the discussion of that development?
It's
We would have talked about the draft of the ordinance, which they're gonna talk about when it comes back here to vote on anyway.
So, okay. Sounds like it wasn't necessary in the first place to even have the discussion.
In my very humble opinion, yes.
I scanned those in the handout. I believe at the last meeting of the council, the planner gave out several pages of similar developments in the region and gave some stats on each of them. And then at the end, she gave some, I think it was an attempt to give some specifications as to what we would look for in our particular development here in town. My question to you is, did the developer give a list of their plan specifications and gave that to our planner, and the planner then developed a draft of specifications that should be considered for this town, or was it her own doing, her own creativity? And I don't know if any of you are in a position to address that. But maybe I could address the question to the attorney or the developer as to whether or not a list of the various requirements were given to the planner, and then she possibly could have referred to that in coming up with her own recommendations.
I don't think that would be fair for the councilor to answer that question. I think that question would only be answered by the borough planner. So we will get that answer for you at the next meeting.
Or at planning board.
Or at the planning board meeting. You could address that question at the planning board meeting.
Okay.
I don't think the planner gave us an opinion, I thought the planner just gave us ideas and factual, historical information on the projects.
Right, but that's not the gentleman's question. The gentleman's question was the ordinance adopted based upon, was part of the ordinance based upon suggestions that were presented by the developer? And the answer to that question is I don't want to answer that question, all right? I believe I know what the answer is, but I'm not going to state what I don't know as the empirical answer. So that answer, you could bring that question to the planning board, or we'll get you that answer, Mr. Glazer. Call me. You have my cell number. Give me a call, and I'll reach out to the borough planner for you. So tell me what you'd like to do. And reach out to the borough planner tomorrow.
I'd rather speak through you as opposed to speak.
Pardon me?
I'd rather speak to you as opposed to the planner.
No, I meant that. I mean, you want me to call the borough planner?
There's no urgent need for it. The subject came up.
I just want to make sure.
Yes,
Okay, I will do that.
certainly before a planning board meeting.
Okay. Please.
I'm Yvonne Haskell, resident of the borough, and I'm here on a personal issue on my property, and I don't know if this is the right time.
Absolutely the right place for it.
There was supposed to be a report today, an engineer's report, and borough administrator's report, and I was told to come here. I asked, and I was told it would be the right thing for me to do. And I'm here, and I'd like to know, if anything has transpired, if anything can be done to rectify the problem that was caused by the Toll Brothers development that was put up many years ago. I've been writing to the council, and I've been fighting this for years and years and years. Never had a backyard drainage problem before. Those houses went up, 28 houses. Since then, whenever it rains, my backyard becomes a pond. Everybody could put boats in my pond, and we could sail them and have a grand old time. Part of the property is unusable. I've received topsoil down several times. I've thrown money out the window. And I've got pictures to prove it, and I've got this, and I'm at my wit's end. I'm just at my wit's end. I just do not know what else I can do anymore. I became a widow 2 years ago, suddenly. And it's all on me, and I just don't know what to do. I've reached out, and I did reach out to you, and you've been very helpful. I reached out to Councilman Rosenblatt, and he's been helpful, he's been very nice. Mr. Albert knows me already. The first time the engineers came out in 2009, they came and I wasn't home, they didn't tell me they were coming. I couldn't show them, I couldn't explain anything, I couldn't show pictures or anything. And they wrote a report saying it wasn't due to the development. Well, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a geologist, but something tells me when 40, 60 to 60 trees are taken down on a piece of property, and majority of it, it's got concrete over it, and roads built, the water has to go someplace. We fought it as a group on Kenwood Drive. We paid whoever it was. There were catch basins supposed to be put in and so on and so forth. Everybody has water problems, mine are the worst. And maybe they can afford to fix their problems, I can't. I was told you could put catch basin, dig it deep, put pipes out to the street, almost like a French drain you put in a house. But you're looking at $10,000, $15,000 worth of work. That's what I was told. That was a couple of years ago. I just don't know what to do. I moved in here, I moved into Woodcliff Lake in 1985. Yeah, been here a long time. My son was 5 years old when we moved in. Part of the backyard that is now unusable had a swing set. And the swing set was put down there, and the swing set stayed until it was no longer of use. And if I had to put a swing set there now, I'd be there. There was no way, because if children played there, they'd be up to their knees in water when it rained. You know those concrete bricks, that they use in construction?
Cinder block.
Cinder block, thank you. Well, I have pictures where the whole cinder block is covered. That's how much water. And I just don't know what to do. I'm at your mercy. I'm asking for help. The development is just, as I say, you don't have to be an engineer or a geologist to know the water has to go somewhere. I happen to live on the low point. I'm the low point of everybody around me. I wasn't as low as I am now when the houses were built. My property has gone down and down next to my fence. You've seen it a couple of times. Nothing grows, and if it grows, one rainstorm, the water is about that deep. And the puddle is getting larger and larger and larger at each rainstorm. It's getting closer to my pool, it's getting closer to my driveway. Now because of Hurricane Sandy, my neighbor's tree fell on my property, and I had to have my driveway redone. Well, right now my driveway is ripped up, and I'm waiting to do anything because I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. I didn't want to get emotional, but I know I'm going to get emotional because it is emotional. This is a beautiful town. I love this town. I wouldn't keep staying here. My son doesn't live there anymore. I shouldn't have been by a little longer. My husband, as I said, my husband is gone a little 2 years. My son's not there. I can't keep bailing water out and putting pumps in there to get the water down. I just don't know what to do. I've got correspondence back and forth. You have pictures, which I've been sending over the years. I have more pictures. I have pictures on my cell phone. I don't know. So I'm here at everybody's mercy. I don't know what the engineer's report says. I haven't seen it. But when the new engineer came by, they said it was supposed to come here. When the new engineer came by, and a very nice young man, and a very nice young man, and a very nice little older man.
Young man.
Little older man. When they came by, and I don't know what it says in his report, but he looked at me and he talked to me, and from the way we spoke, I thought that there was some sort of an agreement that, yes, you know, it's possible that because of what they did up there, that part of my property is now ruined. I don't know. I don't know what else to say, but that's why I'm here. And I saw you a couple of years ago, and I said, this is what happened. And you said, you know, contact me. I spoke to Councilor Rosenblatt, and you said, you know, you understand what's going on, and I don't know. I need help. I need help with what was my beautiful piece of property in Woodcliff Lake, which I'm a good homeowner. I take care of my property. I pay my taxes on time. I do everything I'm supposed to do. You know, I keep it beautiful and everything else. And the payback is what I think, because of that development, and because it was, whether it was voted on, they said it was okay to do it, there would be no problems. Well, I'm the problem. And everything is in my yard. So that's what I have to say.
No, you have it on your report, right? Sure.
It's in there, yeah.
Okay. Mrs. Haskell, we're going to address that when we close to the public.
Thank you.
Then we're going to have approval of minutes, the shade tree presentation, and the engineer's report.
I just didn't know if that was the time. I had to
No,
wait or whatever.
perfect.
No,
We
you're
want
fine,
you to
you're fine,
express, the public is here to express,
You know, my voice is sort of shaky.
No.
That's what-
look.
I'm very upset.
I know that. Look, you and I spent a fair amount of time last year on the subject. We had a different change in who our engineer was. We had a different change in who our
I've been
liaison.
complaining since 2008.
Right, so we had a
That's how long
change.
I've been complaining.
You know, and understand, as everybody knows, the mayor does not vote unless there's a
I
time.
understand.
The mayor is subject to his council liaisons to go out and meet with the public. I can ask them to do it. They don't have to do anything.
No,
Whoever is responsible for buildings and grounds does what they do, what they feel is how they want to run buildings and grounds.
I'd like whoever was there, they should live in my house now. See what it's like. I have to deal with all of this. 'Cause
So
didn't
the
have to
difference
stand
between
back
last
and-
year and this year is a change in the professional, there's a change in the council liaison. I'm not going to tell you there's going to be a change in the result
Yeah.
to what you want to hear, but I haven't heard either. It's in both of their reports.
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? There's some new faces that are here that we've not seen before. Any issues, concerns they want to address? Motion to close to the public?
So
Councilman
moved.
Bainey, second. Second,
And Mr.
Mr.
Rosenblatt?
Rosenblatt. Okay.
All
Approval,
those in favor?
all those in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Approval of minutes?
Resolved that the minutes of the mayor council meeting on May 20th, 2013, copies of which have been received by all council persons are hereby approved.
Second, Mrs. Abate.
Right. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Bader?
Aye.
Mrs. Bay?
Yes.
Mr. Bloom? Are you?
Right, he wasn't here.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, sir. Mrs. Galloway?
I abstain, I wasn't here.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rosenblatt?
Yes.
And Mrs. Abate? Motion carried.
Okay. Shade tree. Mr. Bosch,
Yes.
I'm going to presume that's, and Ms. Clark will be making the presentation, or however you guys want
Correct.
to do it.
We're a duo.
Dynamic duo.
I don't know about that.
Clay, and just so the public knows, there somehow has been an expression of interest from Clay that why isn't the shade tree its own committee for standing committees?
What was your question?
Right, well, it hasn't come back up, but I want you to know I've instructed Paul Kaufman to take a look at that, because we would have to amend our bylaws to make that a standing committee, which is something we are looking to do for 2014.
You know, for the past 6, 8 years, there's been a committee report, even though it has not been extended. So I think that the effort in making a report, it should, you know, while the bylaws are being amended, it should be on it. I mean, I've been the committee rep now. for,
Any report that you give
well,
is more than welcome to be.
I'm not asked for it.
Well, make sure you represent all your committees. Go ahead.
Thank you. The Woodcliff Lake Shade Tree Committee is pleased to announce that for the 7th year in a row, we've been acknowledged as a Tree City USA. And for the 2nd year in a row, we are the recipient of the Tree City USA Growth Award. So I want to thank everyone for their support and your budgets, and I want to thank Mr. Bader for being our council liaison this year, and also to thank the mayor and council for supporting our efforts with the tree management program for the community forestry service. We'd love to have, there was a wonderful article in Pascack Press, full page, and they're not even where we are. A great article on Park Ridge. So I'd like to see us at least have a comparable article. We're ahead of what they're doing. So do you think I could ask for a photo op with our liaison and our mayor presenting this award?
Jessica, you want to get that picture? Jessica's the Pascack Press.
Are you?
I am.
Okay, that's
Not that I
great.
put people on the spot here.
So I don't have to worry about my camera?
No.
Wolf has
Wolf has
official.
Yana, do you have a camera?
Right here.
Yana, do you have a camera? Do you want us to send you a picture? Yana, are you
Okay,
in
that's
line?
great. Come on.
Okay.
He's got it.
No, you guys.
Okay.
Look at the camera. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna take one more if you're okay. Hold on, hold on. And then a smile. Excellent. I have one more picture.
Yep, one gun.
Marilyn, do you want your picture from your
It's-
camera?
Sure.
Yep. So don't go away, folks. Don't smile.
Get in there, Wolf.
Thank you very much. Don't go away. Wait, Marilyn's gonna give me her camera.
Gee, thanks. Just one more.
Just don't hit me.
Listen, consider.
Excellent. There you go. Mr. Mayor knows the camera.
Now, before we get started, where's our Tree City sign?
Oh, as you enter on Pascack Road, on both parts of Pascack Road, there's a Tree City USA sign. And DPW has been wonderful in that they made a growth award placed underneath the sign.
Oh, great,
And
okay.
this is hung at Borough Hall. So thank you so much.
What is the envelope on the award? There are 2 gold things. That's like year by year?
Okay, so this we get every year. Last year was the first year we had it, and this was based on 2011. And this is a new little emblem based on 2012. We have to file reports for it. I mean, they just don't give it to you. You have to work for it. So we're hoping we'll be back here next year with 2013.
You're gonna be back here next year.
I bet you will.
We have, just so everybody knows, go ahead. Here's,
We have a resolution.
we have a resolution.
It
It's on the
is,
consent agenda number 3.
Mayor, if you allow, I'd like to pull that from the consent agenda and offer it now while the Shade Tree Committee is here.
I'd like to
Mr.
move
Bader
it.
stood up. Can you
Mr. Bader, would you like to read it, please?
get to it?
page 5.
So you were moving?
Okay, we'll do this one now.
I want to move to Old Farms.
We'll get new road, come on over.
So a motion on the resolution.
You already got this 2 years ago.
Agenda 3?
Yeah. And it's listed on page 6 if you're following along.
Okay, whereas the Borough would like to authorize the submission of we did this already.
You authorized it?
We authorized this already, and what this basically is this is the process. We already got the grants, and this is the process to file the application so we can get it for next year.
Right, and if you would read the last 2 paragraphs,
Okay.
that'll bring us up to date.
Whereas the Shade Tree Committee and the Borough Administrator recommend that the Mayor and Council accept and endorse the Community Forestry Plan, copies of which have been given to all the Mayor and Council. Now therefore be resolved that Mayor and Council of Borough of Woodcliff Lake adopt the recommended Community Forestry Plan, and that Mayor Jeffrey R. Goldsmith is authorized to sign Community Forestry Plan 2013 through 2017 and submit same to the Department of Environmental Protection and State of New Jersey Forestry Service.
A motion by Mr. Bader.
Second, Mr. Beatty.
Okay, roll call. Yes, sir.
Discussion?
What a wonderful thing.
Just so everybody knows, with this adoption and with this resolution, this will get us real close, if not over the mark, to have complied to being a sustainable Jersey community. Right?
Correct, 20 points.
20 points,
Mhm.
which means we will have done in less than 18 months from when this initiative we started and set up a green team, working with a lot of good people in this municipality. I've done what very few municipalities in the state was able to do in the time that we were able to do it. So my compliments to Clay, to Marilyn, to the Shade Tree, to our green team, to the borough employees that have all worked diligently to do these things, which will help us when the state looks at funding and all the other requirements and grants that when we go on a forward basis. So, thank you.
Mayor, I need to make a comment. This young lady and her team, Mr. Bosch and the members of the Shade Tree Committee, did work here that I've never seen done in my 29 years of service in government in that amount of time. I really have not. There's a special place in my heart for the work they did to get it done and bring us here tonight. It really was incredible. That is one talented group.
It's just a tribute to, it's just, it's like when I said earlier, who's going to make the presentation? And they said, we're a team, it doesn't. And that's really what happens when you have teamwork and nobody cares. As I've always said, anything is possible if you don't care who gets the credit. So thank you for working as a team and setting an example for all of us up here on the council. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bay,
Yes.
Mr. Bloom,
Yes.
Mrs. Gavaletta,
Yes.
Mr. Rosenblatt,
Yes.
Mrs. Zabani,
Which pleasure, yeah.
and Mr. Bader.
Yes.
Thank you.
By the way, we're going to be pulling consent agenda item number 4 for next meeting. Or possibly not. On a go forward basis, yeah. Engineers report, please.
Oh, Mayor,
Hold it.
I'm sorry, 1 second.
Clay?
Marilyn, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Before I meant to, and things changed a little bit. I had read something about a tree farm that you're thinking of putting in
Yeah, we're going to talk
Woodcliff.
about that later.
Yes.
Oh, we are?
That's on his administrative report.
Okay, fine, that's it, I was just curious
Okay.
about that. That sounds like a
We're
great
excited
idea.
about that, too.
No, you know, it's up to you.
We're going to do, so we're going to do the engineers report and then the borough administrators report.
And it's during that?
Yes.
Can I just make one further comment before people may leave? Just a reminder, Woodcliff Lake Day is going to be on the 22nd of June. Now we've moved it up earlier to hopefully have more people available to come that hadn't been able to come because of vacations or holidays or summer camps.
We appreciate that, and the Shade Tree Committee is going to be represented,
That's right.
as is the Senior Association.
Just gonna make one small
change something out on the gas property that we can discuss a little more. It's really the only open item.
Correct.
Start out, take a quick look back at the road program. Middle of this month, Wolfgang and I had a couple meetings together, jumped around town and addressed a couple different issues. One of them being the road program, we met with Park Ridge Water and Sewer to discuss possible improvements they'd be doing on any of their water main lines, try to coordinate out any major infrastructure work that they were looking to do that matched up with the roadways that we've all selected for the 2013 program. Best news from all that is that only minor things they anticipated doing, a couple replacements of older blow-off valves and resetting of some manholes. Things that typically are kind of addressed as you go through the roads anyway, so that they didn't earmark any major utilities to be replaced and anything that would get in the way of the construction schedule. The day before, on May 14th, we also took care of a request from Scrabble, who is the cooperative engineer this year. They're the ones that are putting together the bid package and the plans that are going out to bid for the full overall cooperative road program. We provided them with some details that were our typical details for construction on things like asphalt curbs as opposed to the concrete curbs, since we have a number of those in town, and a couple other small items in terms of roadway sections, things like that, and made ourselves available in case they needed us for the bid to the specification. They had mentioned that they'd be putting the bid out by the end of the month. I have to circle back to see if that went out before the end of last week, but I believe it was finalized. I just don't know if it went out to.
It did, it was
It did
advertised.
open?
It was advertised.
It did,
Yes.
okay. Moving on to 77 Brookview Drive, the drain repairs at the outfall. It's located on that property. Wolfgang and I had met on the 15th with property owner Peter Goldsmith, no relation. And had a quick little meeting just to give him a status update on where we were at, Borough, where Park Ridge is at in terms of water and sewer and their project, and everything we discussed been discussed at our prior meetings. Not too much moving forward right now, mainly because Park Ridge Water and Sewer doesn't have the allocations in place to do the work during this fiscal year. They have to establish that for next year and address the project then. And we communicated with the homeowner on that and assured them that the borough has already made the appropriations in this budget and will retain them into the next for the side-by-side project.
So Park Ridge has admitted the
Park-
responsibility?
They've indicated their willingness to work with us on the project. They have a major portion of it to be completed.
Now the two repairs themselves are individual to some extent.
Can you describe the two repairs?
Sure. First, boroughs, the outfall would be, the outfall itself had an immense amount of scouring and undercutting that occurred during some of our recent floodings over the last year. And eventually the last probably about 10 feet of the pipe was actually caved in, cracked, had no support on it, so the weight of the pipe cracked the pipe. And it's currently
in the street,
no, it's in the backyard of their property
into the
brook.
into a brook.
So it's dropped down and it's discharging, not at the right elevation, and as well as it needs to be restabilized so that it doesn't continue to fall apart.
Is that the borough's responsibility? I asked this question when we first had the discussion.
We have not made any improvements or spent any money. We're still making sure that if it is the developer's responsibility.
Well, even if it's not the developer, it's private property.
Well, no, it's within an easement, it's
Yeah.
the town's easement for
The only thing I ask is that Mr. Kaufman's office gives us a written opinion that it is private property, it's not private property, it's the borough's responsibility. I just don't, I mean, we've, over the past 12 years, 15 years, we've always tried to stay away from improvements on private property for this exact reason, because there's hundreds of them in town.
Right, unless it's an asset of the boroughs, we wouldn't
Right.
make an improvement.
So you want to open up a Pandora's box, and if he says it's for responsibility right away, easements or whatever, no problem. But if it turns out to be not, and it's private property,
Correct, we're not
I
going
don't
there.
want to go there.
No.
Before we spend taxpayers' funds, are other members of the council in favor of what Mr. Bader just requested of Mr. Kaufman's firm? Mr. Bloom?
Yes.
absolutely.
Everybody's,
We need to know.
Mr. Rosenblatt?
I thought that was the understanding from the beginning. That it was-
Yeah, but however,
The
but now,
understanding was that.
however, now we're being asked to expend funds, so I want to make sure, I'm not going to give the instructions, I'm not signing off on, I don't have the right to. So I want to make sure this council's in favor of it. Mr. Rosenblatt?
If the rest of the council's in favor of it, I don't really know enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
Well, I think we don't want to be penny wise and dollar foolish, right? I think we
We're-
want
we're
to spend to
passive.
find out exactly what it is, so
I
that
just
we
gotta
know
follow
exactly
pro- I
where
wanna follow
our
protocol.
responsibility lies.
I mean, can I ask a question? I mean, don't we have
Yeah,
access to what are, isn't there a map that we can tell the easement? Well, I mean, you don't have to hire a lawyer to tell us if it's an easement, do you?
I don't know what the responsibility is.
I know you want to, but do you really have to hire?
It's not even that. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I don't know. In years past, when we asked a question like this, we would get the, I mean, not to say that it's gonna take him hours to do it, but I would think it would fall under the retainer agreement to find out if something is covered or not covered.
It's not, the retainer agreement is just for 10 meetings.
So if we needed the services of
What
Mr.
kind of
Kaufman,
construction
we needed.
department knows this?
An hour.
Maybe I could just bring it together.
Please.
Right, we utilize our professionals to do the work and make a determination on whether it's an easement or not. We made that, and we'll confirm it with Mr. Kaufman's office
I would
for
rather.
the cost of the time it's needed to review.
Would you like me to cap it at 2 or 3 hours? Just leave it alone?
Yeah. We'll work it through. They're very reasonable.
Do I need to give Mr. Calvin some instructions, or will you speak?
I will be happy to speak with Mr.
No,
Kaufman once the phones are up and running.
No, talk to Warren.
I'm as unclear as you are. Are we gonna be writing a legal opinion as to the easements that govern this property, or are we not?
Yes. Right?
No, just confirm.
You just want us to review what you have?
Yeah.
So we can gather it up and send it to
You're
them.
not writing anything.
So bottom line, what I'm looking for him, what you just tell me, is it the borough's responsibility to make these improvements, or is it the property owner? That's all that I really want.
So we're just gonna gather the documents, send them over to us, we'll review them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to the Woodcliff Lake Dam improvements. That's it. Project being undertaken by United Water, and is actually slated to start as early as September of this year. But most likely be drawn out over the next 2 years into the fall of 2015. As part of the project, and it's been continually articulated by the borough that they'd like to see all the utilities that are currently above ground, power lines, et cetera, that service the different portions of the dam, be placed underground. And this is one of the opportunities that really, once they repair this dam, they're not going to do it again for a good, well, hopefully more than 20, 30, 40 years. So this is the only opportunity to get rid of these utility poles, and quite honestly, a bit excessive on that stretch there. And we formally asked United Water to consider this, like, once again, and also asked them to come to the table with Nagel Engineering and the borough administrator, sit down, have a brief discussion on what it would take, and how the borough can help facilitate making this happen, seeing as they have their schedule starting as early as September of this year. We did this early in May, May 9th, I believe. The letter was sent out. We have yet to receive a written response. I've been following up on it.
Can you get a copy of that letter to me tomorrow, please?
Oh, sure.
I have a meeting with United Water on this, not only this issue, but the cleanliness of their properties around Church Road, or lack thereof.
And then also on the reservoir, too.
Oh, no, we're talking, no, we're
Woodcliff
talking,
Avenue, too.
oh, no, we're talking the whole thing.
Today.
We're talking the whole thing.
There was a open tree removal issue on 110 Brookview Drive. I believe 110 Brookview Drive. Last time it was in our report, the Bergen County Mosquito Control was being brought in to assist with some cleanup inside the actual stream area, minimize the cost for the homeowner as well as facilitate the use of the Bergen County Mosquito Control and hopefully have them address maybe some other issues upstream, downstream while we're there. They've come in and with open hands and welcome the opportunity to help the homeowner out and have tentatively scheduled to assist. They had a little bit of a reorg on their end within their grouping, so they had to postpone it. Or else we would have been able to report on it at the last mayor council meeting. And right now, they're in the process of coordinating with DPW to make sure that they approach the site when the homeowners are home and when DPW can be there with them to guide them through the work. We also have borough generators. We were looking through the FEMA hazard mitigation grant program to purchase generators months back. We still unfortunately haven't heard any word back on whether or not that funding is in place. It's a slow process. I personally thought it might start hearing a little something about it by now, but honestly, I'm getting more requests for more letters of intent and things of that nature to help bolster the overall need that every community has for some funds from FEMA. So it seems that the state's taking a much more detailed approach to bringing their plate of need to the table, and that seems to be delaying some of these items along the way. And the last item would be the 53 Kenwood Drive property, Ms. Haskell's property. On May 15th, Borough Administrator Wolfgang Albrecht and myself had gone to Ms. Haskell's property and met with her in regards to her situation. And she had explained to us that drainage issues were occurring in her backyard. Most of you all heard a little bit earlier. To elaborate on, there's a low point along the side of her property in the backyard near the fence. And like I said, she has a concrete block sitting near it on its side, which typically would be about 6 inches, 8 inches in width, which she's used to measure some of the photos that she sent us to show approximately 6-7 inches of water consistently during larger storm events ponding in that area. She also noted that these issues began to happen shortly after the Mulholland Drive development was completed, and since then, year by year, they seem to be getting progressively worse and worse. A couple other things she mentioned earlier were bringing in small amounts of fill material to try to level out the area, which hasn't really created any relief to the issue itself, the ponding. The area in question is definitively a low point for small drainage area runoff that would be for her property and the two adjoining properties in the back corner of that lot. The issue can stem from a couple different sources. The two most likely sources would be either some changes in property maintenance on her property and the other two adjoining lots. And she can speak directly towards any of the work that she's done on her property, change any drainage features or anything like that. Say roof leaders maybe being changed downspouts in the location of where they drop for overland flow. If they've changed on some of the neighbors' properties, that may direct runoff straight off of her roof directly into, toward that low point. As well as the other more likely situation, these really the only two likely ways you're gonna get this kind of a problem would be some change in the local groundwater. The groundwater table being either seasonally high because we've had, in some years you could have a lot of snow melt that keeps it high early on, and then as you get into the April and May showers, you have a high table and then your runoff has nowhere to go. Or it could be potentially influenced by development in the area or anything else that could lead towards infiltration in the area. At this time, our office can't definitively stipulate which of these issues may be contributing and definitively causing this issue.
I have a question for you. Is it possible that the intense underground seepage that we put into Holland, which is huge, it's a huge underground water retention system. Is it possible that it is not operating the way it was designed to operate? Have you looked at the maps to see if it's anything related to her property? Maybe there's a clog, maybe there's a...
Sure. We don't currently have the design plans from that in our hands, or we asked to go into that depth yet.
Did you do it?
Part of the discussion tonight, including my report to you, would be that if we were to take the next steps, given what the borough engineer just presented to you, it would require further investigation and additional resources.
Well, we are responsible.
So I just want to share that.
I'm sorry.
No.
We are responsible, if I'm not mistaken, Joe Patrick could probably give me a better answer on this thing, but we are responsible for the maintenance after a period of time for the Mulholland underground system. Sure. We own it. So I'm sure that that's going to come back as being our responsibility. If it is working properly, then I would say then again that leads us down another path. But if it's not working properly, and the storm drains are not draining properly into the system, which I imagine our DPW can send a camera down there to at least check it out. It's been how many years now? Somebody can tell me how old Mulholland is?
At least 4.
It's 4 years that this thing has been in full operation, the drainage system that was designed to handle this type of problem. Let's just, send a camera down there and make sure it is operational properly.
Just
That-
to
Let's
circle back
talk
real
about
quick.
the investigation and
Sure.
the involvement a little bit, Joe.
Yeah, now, to be able to steer us towards the definitive reasons for this issue, we need to conduct a study that involves research and review of some surveys of not only this habitable property, but the adjacent lots, as well as any recent site plan approvals of significant development for the area. Obviously, one of the keynote being Mulholland Drive development. To do that, I've looked into some of the preliminary numbers, tried to scope it a little bit on my end. It's really the lowest, if we're just looking at surveys for overland drainage, trying to encapsulate that drainage area and determine how much could really be flowing to that low point, and if that would just by itself be cause enough. It's going to be up high 3s, low 4,000 range, just to get a base on some of that. We could, certainly do a lot more. We could look into water budget analysis of the area itself and do a pre and post development. Now, most of these things are the type of things that we could learn a lot of insight from just simply doing reviews of any of the development plans in the area, Mulholland being one, any development changes in, say, irrigation or anything that anyone had proposed and gone through construction code for the neighboring properties. Some of that would give us a lot of insight, but then again, even just doing that review itself is going to be in that same ballpark, in that $3,000 to $4,000 range.
Can I say something? as they say in medicine, when you go to fix something, when you hear hoofbeats, think horses, not zebras. And I think what Councilman Bader said, let's start simple and send a camera down there and see if it's working.
Go one step further. Let me just say something else. Again, I guess, I remember a story on, I want to call it Greek court. I know the fishing, what are the fishing? Greek court, Great court? Great?
The Fisher
The
family?
people that lived across the street, Vicky and
Mangino's,
Mangino's.
they're on
They
Gary.
had a huge problem that a lot of the Mulholland runoff from Kenwood wound up right there. And I know that it was a minor fix of something having to do with the driveway, that we had to redesign their driveway. Mulholland did redesign the driveway. So I think that you know, if the water is coming from that same area, you know, and we fixed it to go to another place, then let's just, you know, you're right. I know that was my first thing.
Let's see if what we have to alleviate water problems
But
is actually working.
can't we have DPW do that?
Yes,
instead
that's
of-
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Can DPW drop a camera down there? I'm asking.
We share a camera with other towns.
Let's drop a camera down, see if whatever we have in place down there as a drainage system is working. If it's not working, fix it. If that alleviates the problem, bravo. If not, we go to step 2.
And if it's not working and it's only 4 years old, then we have a.
Then we have a case with the builder.
Right.
And
Seems,
you go back on development
seems to
agreement for
kind of,
maintenance
let's
or something
do the
like that.
simplest thing first.
I have another question. What about the builder's performance bond? Is that long gone?
Yeah.
Can we try to go after the builder? And can we find out if there's anything left in the performance bond?
What if it's not the builder? What if it, I mean, of course, what if it is?
Yes,
but,
but
Well, you know what? Didn't
Thinking
happen
like a
before the
lawyer.
building. Yeah. Trying to protect our residents, you know? Builder's not my resident.
right. I
Well,
think we have to
can you
do
check on the
something to
performance
try.
bond?
Yes.
Has it all been released?
I just said to the mayor, that'll be the first thing we take a look at after tonight. Clearly, anytime a resident calls for help or has an issue, we jump out, we want to take a look and see what we can do without getting in the middle of a private issue. So we certainly want to be careful on behalf of the borough, but at the same time, residents are, we're here to service. So I think we'll do a little bit more work here and try to give you some feedback on some of the questions you just asked us.
Can I ask, I just asked our borough attorney, if I could ask the resident a question. So Ms. Haskell, would it be appropriate if I ask you a question at this time? When did you first notice this and when did you first complain to?
2008.
2008. And did you complain to the municipality back in 2008?
Dick Saluzzi.
You know, Ms. Haskell, I'm pretty good with my memory, and I have been on the council now for 12 out of the last 15 years, and probably more than half of that I was roads and grounds. And I can tell you 100% of the time, any complaint that came to me, through the governing body, through the mayor and council, through Nick Saluzzi, 100% of the time, I did a site visit.
Well, I have
So,
I have copies of
I
the
would
letters.
love to, again, if Nick never, and I find that very
I
hard to
have,
believe.
I have emails from him.
Okay,
2009.
if you don't mind, could you please
Not
tell
at all. I have
me,
them with
Walter
me.
Del Centro?
I have someone to.
Because again, in 2008, I was on the council, and I would have been the one that you would have taken it to.
I should have.
No disrespect, ma'am, I've never heard your name.
Well, I have correspondence between him and myself since 2008, 2009.
Okay?
I'm glad you kept it.
Yeah, I have the emails.
Please send it up to Walter.
And he had the old engineering company. They came-
Boswell Engineering.
Boswell, they came to my property when I wasn't home. And they, I have all the emails, with all the information on it.
Great, please, I'd love to see
Not a
that.
problem.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
You're gonna get, Mrs. Haskell, you'll bring them,
I have
you
some.
can give them now, we'll make copies,
I have some of
so we
them.
can log them in that they received and
Absolutely.
submitted. to the proper.
Well, rather than her give it to us, I'd rather get it through the official channel, so it becomes part of our data, and then we have it locked in. And we
Correct.
have
Like I said, it'll come, it'll go to Wolfgang tomorrow. Tomorrow they won't be handled. It'll be handled on Wednesday. Tomorrow's the primary. And Wolf and Debbie, the two people you need will not
Would
be
you
here.
like me to forward the emails on to you?
Yes.
If you do, they become official borough documents, and they stay in perpetuity. And I think you want this as part of the borough's records.
Yes,
So
I do.
you want to really scan it and email it to us, so we have it in our files. For 20 years from now, anybody that looks for more.
I still have the emails on my computer.
Let's just have one conversation. Mrs. Haskell, the floor is still yours.
I still have the emails on my computer, and I can probably just forward them to you. You can just give me the email address I should forward them to.
Okay.
Administrator at wclnj.com.
Yeah.
Send it to the
Or
borough
W.
administrator, and we'll have a copy.
He'll give you his business. He'll give you a business card with his email
Probably
address.
have my email.
Yeah. But we just want to have what you have that we're looking for.
Not a problem.
You done, sir?
That's the team
Those are all-
spirit,
all
because he
the
wants to be able to
answers we
blame me that I didn't do my job.
Wow, you are a mind reader.
But I just want to make sure that we all know that's the team spirit.
Oh, come on, that's totally uncalled for. That's really uncalled for.
I was gonna try to blame John.
It's really uncalled for. There's going to be civility here at all times, and if you can't,
That was a joke. It was a funny joke.
Is that Joe? We
It
hope.
was absolutely a joke.
Okay.
Don't quit your day job.
thank you, Joe. Yeah. We're going to go now to the budget.
Yes? Very enthusiastic at 8 o'clock when I was giving this presentation. Getting a little tired.
You guys know the same, it's gonna be watching it. I told my father I might be doing it.
You're not going to have to watch the game.
Where is this thing up on there?
Yes. We have like a stick or something?
Yeah, I know where it is. Just get up on your
Young man, I'll stand on.
Good job. Good job.
Did you go through
Is that good?
Thank you. Yes, you can move the projector. It'll be up to you. We have to move the projector. Somebody has to stay up on line. Do we need lights?
Yeah.
I think it'll be a little better. Yeah, hit the light. Oh, okay.
Chris.
We'll have to move on.
Chris, are you still here?
Yes.
Come here, Chris.
Am I in trouble?
No, you're good. You are a technological whiz. You want to go full view?
Jeff, I just saw the orders. You're claiming use of the Korean War now.
Now, why can't you be civil?
Thank you. That's Chris, our tech guy.
By the way, everyone who's here, the full recordings of the meetings will be up on the Woodcliff Lake YouTube channel, probably by tomorrow. Full meeting will be right there.
How do you find it? You just type in on YouTube?
You search for Woodcliff Lake, New Jersey, I believe is the YouTube channel, so it's youtube.com/Woodcliff Lake, New Jersey, something like that.
That's our meetings are on there?
My mom could watch the meeting from Florida.
Okay. So we're ready. The 2013 budget presentation for the Borough of Woodcliff Lake. Basically, this is how the budget gets put together. The department heads submit their requests for 2013. The process has started in February. The Finance Committee then prepares a preliminary budget from their requests and recommendations. the budget, and the council reviewed and discussed the budget here on April 16th. Budget introduction by reading only was on May 6th, and a summary was published on May 17th. Adoption of the budget is scheduled for tonight,
And we were prepared, but.
but we are going to adopt the budget at our next meeting. Because we had a little glitch. Finance Committee consists of the Honorable Mayor Jeffrey Goldsmith, myself, the Honorable Eric Bloom, our Honorable Borough Administrator, Chief Financial Officer, and the Borough Auditor, also Honorable Coleridge. This is an overview of what we'll be telling you about tonight: rateable base, revenues, appropriations, capital improvement program, and tax impact. Our assessed values of all the property in Woodcliff Lake went down from 2012 to 2013 by $17,389,000 and change, for a percentage decrease in our ratables of 0.94%. Our rateable base for the last, I guess, 12 years, that would be, or 11 years, that would be, you'll see a change, a big jump in the rateable base between 2011 and 2012. That was when our reassessment was done, which hadn't been done for, I guess, 10 years previous to that. 2003. And then you'll see another slight drop, the 17 million referred to in the slide before, after I guess that all got fine-tuned.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. So what are the revenue sources in our budget?